Welcome to our tutorial on building a virtual reality game. In this tutorial, we'll be creating a simple and engaging VR game using Unity and C#. Whether you're a seasoned developer or a complete beginner, this video will guide you through the essential steps to bring your VR game idea to life. First, let's ensure we have the right tools installed. You'll need Unity and the XR Interaction Toolkit primarily. If you haven't already, download and install Unity Hub, then install the latest version of Unity 2023. Next, open Unity Hub and create a new project. Choose the 3D template and give your project a name, something like VR Game Project. Make sure to check the Create Project with Unity version box to use the latest installation. Once your project is loaded, we need to set up the environment for VR development. Go to Edit, Project Settings and navigate to XR Plugin Management. Here, we can enable the plugins for the VR devices you wish to support, like Oculus or OpenVR. After enabling the appropriate XR plugins, we need to install the XR Interaction Toolkit. Go to the Package Manager by navigating to a window, Package Manager. Search for XR Interaction Toolkit, select it, and click Install. Next, let's set up our first scene. In the Hierarchy panel, right-click and create a new game object. Name it Player and attach a XR Rig component to it. This will create the VR player controller. Now, we need to prepare the player's camera and inputs. With the XR Rig selected, we will assign a camera game object to it. Right-click in the hierarchy, create a new camera, and position it inside the XR Rig. Attach the XR Rig's camera component to this camera. Under the XR Rig settings, ensure the camera option points to your newly created camera, allowing the player to view through it. Next, let's implement some interactive elements in our game environment. Create a simple cube that the player can interact with by right-clicking in the hierarchy, selecting 3D Object, and then Cube. Scale it to an appropriate size. To make this cube interactive, we need to attach a collider component and also a rigid body component to it. Ensure that Is Kinematic is unchecked in the rigid body settings so it reacts to physics properly. Now let's add interactivity to the cube. Next, we need to modify the interactive cube script we just created. We'll implement a way for players to grab the cube using their controller inputs. To set it up, navigate back to the Unity editor. Add an XR Grab Interactable component to our cube. This lets the player's controllers interact with it and allows users to pick it up. Next, we need to set the interaction layer for our cube to ensure it only interacts with our player's controller. In the XR Grab Interactable settings, you can configure that under Interaction Layers. Now that our cube is set up for interaction, let's create a basic environment to enhance the immersion of our VR game. You can either create your models or download free assets from the Unity Asset Store. For this tutorial, let's add a simple plane to serve as our ground. Go to GameObject, 3D Object, and select Plane. Position it underneath your player in the hierarchy. Make sure its scale is large enough to accommodate player movement. Next, let's set up an environment lighting. Click on Create in the hierarchy and select Light. Choose Directional Light. Adjust the rotation to simulate the position of the sun. This will enhance the lighting in your scene. To enhance the visual aesthetics, we can add materials to our objects. Create a new material by right-clicking in the project window, select Create, then Material, and name it Ground Material. Change the color or texture as desired. Now assign our new material to the plane by dragging it from the project window onto the plane in the hierarchy. You should see a color change directly in the game view. Next, we will set up a UI to provide instructions to the player. Right-click on the Hierarchy panel, create a new UI canvas, name it Game Canvas. Under this canvas, you can create a text element that describes the goal of the game. Make sure to set the canvas component to world space to have it positioned in the VR world properly. Adjust its scale until it's visible and within reach of the player. Now that your UI is functional, let's create some collectible items in the game. Create a prefab of our cube and set it up so that when collected, a score increases. Create a new script called Score Manager. Attach this script to a game object and set up the text UI so players can see their score in real time. Make sure to frequently call the collect method from interactive cube script when the cube is grabbed. To test out your game, ensure all components are correctly linked and hit play. You should find that you can interact with your cube, and whenever it's collected, your score updates. Now to finalize our game, let's add sound effects. We can use Unity's audio source component to play sounds on grab. Add an audio source component to your interactive cube prefab. Don't forget to assign a sound to the grab sound variable in the inspector, so there is an actual audio clip to play. Lastly, let's look at optimizing for VR. Ensure that your assets are in a reasonable polygon count and apply LOD, level of detail, where suitable to improve performance. Always playtest with the VR headset to check the performance and comfort. Congratulations! You've successfully built a simple VR game from scratch. You've learned how to set up a project, build interactive content, add UI elements, manage scoring, and improve the overall experience with sound and performance optimization. In the next part of our tutorial series, we will dive deeper into advanced interactions, using VR locomotion systems, and possibly adding multiplayer features. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave a comment below. We'll see you in the next video.